Welcome and thank you for standing by. At this time, all participants are in listen-only mode. Today's webinar is being recorded. If you have any objections, you may disconnect at this time. Now I'd like to turn the call over to your presenter, Erlene Dowell. Erlene.
Thank you, Sam. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining my session on the Census Emergency Management Page and Data Equity Tools. My name is promoting census data for almost 14 years. Today, I will be showing you a handful of data tools that have Puerto Rico data, especially during Puerto Rico's potentially vulnerable times. Let's begin with an outline of how we will spend our time. First, I'll go over the emergency management disaster page and all it has to offer during an emergency disaster event. Then I'll highlight a couple data tools for disaster events, followed by a test to see if you're paying attention to me. And then we'll move on to the data equity tools and close out the webinar with resources and a Q&A session. Let's start with the U.S. Census Bureau's emergency management page, or what I like to call the one-stop shop for emergency management. Here is a screenshot of the emergency management page. In this screenshot, you are able to see recent events, which include Typhoon Bolaven, Hurricanes Lee, Idalia, and Hillary, and the Hawaii wildfires. I'll pull this page up for a quick look to see all of the emergency management tools we have in a minute. There's also a section regarding the pandemic and the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, seasons outlook and weather forecast offices across the country. Then we come to our pulse survey section, and scrolling down further brings us to the data tools, including on the map for emergency management. Here we have NOAA's National Weather Service weather forecast offices. This site provides quick access to key demographic and business data that weather forecasters and broadcasters across the country can use in their work. Each weather forecast office has a geographic area of responsibility, also known as a county warning area, for issuing local public, marine, aviation, fire, and hydrology forecasts. Let's go live to look at Puerto Rico's live feed, and then we'll look at the whole emergency management area. So the easiest way to get to it would be, hang on one second while I move this around. All right, so the easiest way would be, move this out of my way too. I can't see with this. All right, super. Hopefully, can everybody see this? I think I'm, okay.
Yes,
So
Erlene, we
anyway,
see your web browser.
okay, great. So if you hover over topics and you scroll to emergency management, you're going to click on emergency management disasters. And then that brings you to the page. If I scroll down a little bit, here is our emergency management hub. So this hub is currently being developed. And if I click on it, it gives you quick access to all of the different disaster declarations that are occurring right now, and gives you a brief description of what's happening. You can see the 2023 Typhoon Bolaven. We have that Hurricane Tropical Storm Lee, and then we have the Hawaii wildfires. And then we still have information regarding the Canada wildfires and the U.S. air quality regarding, and then also the heat emergency. And then if I scroll down a little bit more, you can see data tools for disasters, natural hazards, and weather events. Currently, right here, we have 4 data tools that we are highlighting. The My Community Explorer is an interactive map-based tool that highlights demographic and socioeconomic data that measures inequality and can help inform database solutions. This tool is designed to help users identify underserved communities on diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility in the federal workforce. currently, we're not going to look at that any closer just because it doesn't have Puerto Rico data in it yet, but it will be uploaded or updated in the near future. The one thing that we will be looking at that is the sister tool to the My Community Explorer is the Community Resilience Equity Estimate Supplement, and that does have Puerto Rico data, but we'll look at that a little later. So I'm just going to go ahead and click the arrow back and then take us back to the page just to show you all of the other features that it has. So if I just scroll down, here we can see the area for the pandemic. If you click on that, that takes you straight to the CDC. If you click on this NOAA Atlantic Hurricane Season Outlook, that takes you to NOAA. And then here is the National Weather Service forecast offices. So if I click on that, that takes us to an area where it has a map along with a table. So just full disclosure, this table is currently being updated. So if you're about clicking on all of the different links, you'll get an error just because this data actually comes from the Census Business Builder. And since we put the data in, the Census Business Builder has been updated, and we'll go over that in a little bit. But I did want to show you how we can click on the map, and then that takes us to the National Weather Service. And then I click on it again, and then that gives us data regarding a live feed right now. So we can see what the weather is like, which is always wonderful in temperatures. And you can see different things. And here is the satellite of the area and so on. Okay, going back. All right, so we're going to scroll down, and I mentioned earlier in the PowerPoint, we have programs here. We have the Household Pulse Survey, the Small Business Pulse Survey, we have the School Pulse Survey, and then we have the Monthly Business Formation Statistics. And then again, here is another preview of the data tools, just like it was in the emergency hub. So eventually we're going to combine so that we don't have too many things repeating itself, but here we are going to be looking at some of these data tools, especially the On the Map for Emergency Management. All right, and then there's areas with news regarding natural disasters or the weather or any types of events. As you can see, Fire Prevention Week was October 8th through the 14th. And then if you scroll down a little more, there's some America Count stories. This story here in Spanish and in English is based on younger workers in Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria. So that's very interesting to read. And that actually highlights one of the other data tools that I usually cover, which is the Quarterly Workforce Indicator. I know some of my colleagues will be going over that later on in the series. So definitely stay tuned and come back. And then we have the area for our infographics, and these are just kind of highlighting some of the natural disasters that went on and just different weather forecasts and statistics and looking at the data in an easier, more understandable way. Okay. So now going on to the data tools, we're going to look at a couple of them. So we're going to look at the Census Business Builder. And here, the Census Business Builder was recently updated, as I mentioned earlier, it had two versions. So it had the small business analyst and the regional edition analyst, but now the two have been combined into one data tool. Census Business Builder provides selected demographics and economic data from the Census Bureau's tailored to specific types of users in a simple to access and use format. I won't go deep into this data product either because on November 6th, some of my colleagues will be presenting a webinar specifically for Census Business Builder. But here is a screenshot of San Juan, Bayaman, and Caguas. And then we're going to go live and look at this and see how easy this is to pull up. So going back to my browser, and just to let everybody know, we usually work in Chrome and in Firefox just because it plays with our data tools nicely. But the easiest way to get to Census Business Builder is if you remember cbb.census.gov and then click on the link. And then once you do that, a pop-up comes up and you can see, you can take a little tour, and so it'll go through all of the different steps for you, or you can type in the area that you're looking at. It also can look at the location that you're at. So if you wanted to do that, you could, but I'm just going to type in San Juan. And then you can see all of the areas that come up with San Juan comes up. So we have all of these different geographies. I'm going to go ahead and keep it simple and click on the metro area. And once the metro area comes up, you can see to the right, the legend says how many establishments there are in the certain area. And the darker blue are the more populated establishments, while the light green are the lease establishments in those areas. All right, in the example that I had done, I went ahead and typed in manufacturing because I know that that's a big industry. And once I type in manufacturing, it spits out some options that I could, click on. I'm just going to go ahead and click on manufacturing and then just kind of click out of that box. And then up here where it says establishments, this is where you can put in your different variables. So I'll click on the variables and you can see you have primary categories. So there's consumer residents. This tells you what the residents that are spending money look like in this area in case you would like to start a small business. We have the business annual, we have the business quarterly, we have the workforce, we have building permits, consumer spending, and as well as, I can't always see, I apologize, I can't always see with my thing. Hopefully you can still see my screen because I have two screens up right now. We have consumer spending, my variables, levels, level change, and percent change and location quotient. So currently the primary variable is business, it should be business annual. And I'm going to click on all employer establishments. And then I'm going to click on a second variable and then click on business quarterly. And we're going to look at total wages just for fun. So all of this is just for fun. All right, so once I do that, you can see the different circles that we have, and the circles, the bigger the circle, the more total wages they are. So if you hover over them, you can see the different amounts of wages for the quarter. And then if you click on the detailed view, you can see the different establishments and compare them. We can see the median household income and the home ownership. All right. I'll save that for my colleagues on November 6th to dive deeper into that so you can get a better view of the Census Business Builder. But it is on the emergency management page for when there are times that there might be an impact in the area, and you can see what the population might be impacted and so on. All right, so now let's talk about what one of the data tools that's near and dear to my heart. Me and the On the Map for Emergency Management have been around about the same amount of time, so about 14 years. And then On the Map for Emergency Management is a public data tool that provides an intuitive web-based interface for accessing U.S. population and workforce statistics in real time for areas being affected by natural disasters. The tool allows users to retrieve reports containing detailed workforce, population, and housing characteristics for hurricanes, floods, wildfires, winter storms, and federal disaster declaration areas. Our hurricanes, tropical storms, snowfall, freezing temperature, and floods all come from the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA. Our disaster declaration areas come from the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, and our wildfires come from the Department of Interior and Department of Agriculture. And our demographic and economic data comes from the Census Bureau's 2020 decennial, the 2017-2021 American Community Survey, or ACS, and the 2020 loads data. It has comprehensive reports, real-time data that updates every 6 hours. It's easy to use, and it can look at historical events and flexible analyses and visualizations. One of the main features of On the Map for Emergency Management is the ability to look at vulnerabilities in the projected or actual impacted areas. We'll look at the social vulnerabilities via the ACS, economical vulnerabilities comes from loads, and physical vulnerabilities via ACS and decennial. So unfortunately, we do not have economical data for Puerto Rico via the loads data, which stands for the Longitudinal Employer Household Dynamics Origin Destination Employee Statistics. The good news is that we have the data, and eventually it will be added into our On the Map for Emergency Management, as well as its sister map, On the Map. So with all that said, we can still look at the social, physical, and some economical vulnerabilities when it comes to the population. Using the ACS, we can see social and physical vulnerabilities. We can see households with one or more people 65 years or over. We can see if they are disabled, and we can see house heating fuel or year structure was built, to name a few physical vulnerabilities. Using the decennial data, we can see we can access whether a house is occupied or vacant. And to understand the economical vulnerabilities, we would use loads. And we could see total number of workers in an impacted area, the industry impacted in that area, and the earnings or money lost for workers in the impacted areas. So here is a screenshot from Tuesday. Looking at the map, at the top of the page, we have a search box with a filter. You can type in keywords like Ian, Florida, or even add a DR or EM number for disaster or emergency declarations with a filter to the right of the box. On the left is a list of the current events that you can scroll down, starting with Hurricane Tammy, remnants of 21, and Hurricane Otis. In the middle, we have our map with events that are current. Using the legend on the far right, you can see the red flames stand for wildfires in Alaska and throughout the West and Midwest. A tropical storm is in the green shape, and that's in the Pacific and Atlantic. No floods, surprisingly, which symbolizes the yellow floating houses. And then the snowfall in the north, and lots of FEMA disaster declaration areas across the country represented with an orange life preserver. So here, when you're looking at it, you can see it looks like Hurricane Tammy might be on the way to Puerto Rico. But if I just zoom in a little closer, we can see that it just barely missed Puerto Rico. So So that's pretty lucky. And then in this screenshot, we can see all of the different emergency management events involving Puerto Rico by clicking on the map. So you can see on the left-hand side all of these different declarations and emergency management. And then at the bottom, you can see the effects due to COVID. And then here, knowing that DR 4671 is Hurricane Fiona, we can see all of the vulnerabilities in the table on the left. So you can see ability to speak English by age, disability status by poverty status, disability status by age, and so on. And then looking at the social and physical vulnerabilities of income below poverty status for just San Juan zone, you can see that it would be, 26,552. So you can actually zone into or go all the way down to a place or city. You can look at counties and you can look at states. So let's look at this question. One of the questions is, what is the estimated population from the ACS that have electricity in San Juan? How many people live in mobile homes in San Juan? And what is the difference of homes built from 2010 to 2019 compared to 2020 in San Juan? So let's go live to look at this. So one of the easiest ways to get to the on the map for emergency management is if you Google, and on the map is one word. So if you go on the map for emergency management, of course, it's going to come up for me. And click enter. And then there it is at the top. So we're going to click on that. And then it takes you straight to the home page. And as we talked about earlier, on the left-hand side, you can see all of the current events happening right now. We have hurricanes and wildfires going on. If you look in the middle, you can see all of the things we discussed. We have snowfall, we have some wildfires, we have some disaster declaration areas, as well as some tropical storms and hurricanes. And then here we have the legend, so you can see what we have. We also have a base map where you can click on it and you can look at it by satellite, which is pretty. You can look at the road and you can look at hybrid. So we'll just keep it for that on hybrid for now. So the other parts is if we zoom in closer, now you can see how it's missed. And then remember in the previous PowerPoint slide, we had all of the different disaster declaration areas. So the closer I get to Puerto Rico, the more the list becomes just exactly specifically for Puerto Rico. But you can go ahead and type in something like Hurricane Fiona. And once I do that, Hurricane Fiona comes up, and I know also that DR 4671 is Hurricane Fiona, but we'll just focus on this for now. So we're focusing on this because we're going to go and answer those questions that I had earlier. So I hope you guys remember those questions. So here, I'll show you some of the characteristics. So you can look at the details by characteristics. You can look at it by characteristics, geography, or for the loads data, we can look at origin destination. We have it on the 2017 ACS characteristics. And then I told you that we wanted to look at the event if we look at it by just San Juan. So I clicked on event area. I will go over here and click on the arrow, and then I'm going to click on places. And once I do that, San Juan comes up, and I'll click on that, and then click select. So once I do that, it zooms in to the area that we selected, and now we can look at all of the different of vulnerability. So as we mentioned earlier, we can see population 65 years and over living alone. And then we can look at the year structure was built. So if I just scroll down a little bit, we can see homes that were built in 2020. So that was about 68 homes. We can see those that were built between 2010 to 2019, and that was about 1,510, so 1,510. Then we can scroll down and look at mobile homes. So if I scroll down and see mobile homes, we can see there was about 260 mobile homes. And then if we want to look at other things like social and physical, we can click on this, and then we're going to look at decennial. So once I look at decennial, it changes back to the whole area. So definitely don't forget to click on event area, click on places again, and we're going to click on San Juan, and then we're going to look at the total population. So the total population was 322,854, but then you can look at the housing units. So we can see what's vacant housing, we can see what's for rent, we can see what's recreational or seasonal, we can see what is renter occupied, and you can see that the map updates as well as the chart, everything kind of changes the more I click on things. Okay. Just to let you know, you can export this. You can do a KML, CSV. If you want to share it, you can click on this and put it in any of your social medias, in an email, whatever you want. Alrighty, so I will go back to the PowerPoint and look at our questions, and hopefully you all have the answers to this. So the estimated population from the ACS that have electricity. I actually had population. I'm so sorry. Has 322,854. How many people live in mobile homes in San Juan is 260. And what is the difference of homes built from 2010 to 2019 compared to 2020? The total answer is 1,442. So let's go back and get that correct answer regarding estimated electricity. And I'm going to change that back to ACS. And then scroll down to house heating fuel. So this is always great to see, like if, there's a storm coming, you can estimate how many people might potentially lose electricity. So we can see the correct answer is 25,539. All right, and then I did want to mention the DR4671. So if I had clicked on DR4671 in the legend on the left-hand side, it would have created this page on the left-hand side, but there's also a link straight to Puerto Rico, and you can see the resources that might be needed regarding this natural disaster. You can see when the declaration date was, the incident of the period, and all of the different resources that it might have. I also like to show the designated areas. So if I go back here and I type in DR4671 and click on that, and then I'll click on this to show you the link to FEMA. But here, you can scroll down to designated areas. And if you're just, if you're looking at other areas, not just, for Puerto Rico, but you can see this can actually be transported to other maps that we have. So if I clicked on Google Earth and then downloaded it, you can see that it got downloaded here. I can actually import that after I've exported it. I can import it into other maps that we have. All right, so moving along, talking about our data equity tools. So you can see that we have a couple of them that I circled green. So we've already covered the Census Business Builder as well as the Local Employment Dynamics. That's where the On the Map for Emergency Management falls. But we're going to look at the other 4 areas. So we have the Community Resilience Estimate Equity Supplement. We have the Digital Equity Act Population Viewer. And then we have the Economic Development Administration, or EDA, Census Poverty Status Viewer, and then the Response Outreach Area Mapper. So here is the Community Resilience Estimates. So just to let you know, all of the links I've included in this PowerPoint, which will be made available to you in I think in a couple weeks. So you'll be able to have all of this, but I will show you how to get to the areas before we conclude. So anyway, the Community Resilience Estimates for Puerto Rico VIR shows the social vulnerabilities in Puerto Rico in the event of a disaster. Using restricted microdata from the 2019 Puerto Rico Community Survey and small area modeling, the CRE creates population estimates based on 10 individual/household level risk factors, including poverty status, number of caregivers in the household, unit level crowding, educational attainment, employment, disability status, health insurance coverage, age 65 and above, vehicle access, and broadband internet access. So let's go live to look at this. Alrighty, so before I do that, I just want to show you to get to the to this page. If you click on, or if you hover over Date and Maps and then scroll over to Data Equity Tools, that'll take you straight to that area. So if I scroll down, this is actually specifically for CRE for Puerto Rico viewer. So we'll click on this. And again, that takes me straight to the map for Puerto Rico. So here it gives you a little explanation, pretty much what I said to you earlier. But on the left-hand side is the legend. So the brown maps, with the light orange, the darker the color, the more risk factors that they have. So in the dark areas, and if you know your areas, that makes sense to you that they would be higher risk. And the lighter areas, that would make sense to you that they are lighter. So if I click on 0 factors, all the areas in green, you can see 17 or more versus less than 11. And then you can see in purple, these have 1 to 2 risk factors. And then again, we have the 3 risk factors. So if I click on an area, it gives me what I'm looking at. So I'm not going to say that, but the zip code is 72147. And then it gives you information regarding the 3 risk factors, and that it's 57.38. We have 4,811 residents with 3 or more risk factors. We can see some of those that have high school graduates, so that's 71.2. We have with broadband 64.7, with disabilities 6.7, no health insurance at least 12, and then no vehicle about 19, full-time worker year-round 33.2, occupied housing units with 1.51 plus occupants per room. And regarding the rural area from 2010, that was 11.51. You can definitely zoom into the area. You can look at all of the different other areas. You can tweet it. Well, it's not tweeting anymore, but you can share it on X or Facebook. Alrighty, going back to the PowerPoint. Now let's look at the Digital Equity Act Viewer. So the Digital Equity Act Viewer includes 5 thematic maps to explore internet and broadband coverage. The 5 maps include covered population, population lacking fixed broadband, population lacking computer or broadband, population not using the internet, and population not using a device. So that's always very fascinating, but we'll go ahead and click on that. And we can see it pulls up the map, the whole map of the United States. And then if I click on PR, you can actually zoom in closer too, and then use the map to pan over. So I'll click on that. And so I clicked on Puerto Rico as a whole. And then you can see what this is the covered population right now. So total population is 3,193,694. And the total covered population, so that's the people that have broadband or internet, is about 3,186,000. So that seems like a good number. And then you can kind of scroll down. You can also unclick that, and then maybe we want to look at population not using devices. So you can see how the map over here has already updated. Let's zoom in a little more. So I think, so we can still see what's covered and not covered, but it's still Puerto Rico as a whole instead of being able to look less. All right. And then we have the EDA Census Poverty Status Bureau. So this was developed by the U.S. Census Bureau to support the Commerce Department Economic Development Administration. High poverty area estimates include poverty data for the population from whom poverty status is determined using the 2017-2021 American Community Survey 5-year estimates. Estimates go down to the census tract level. Although county estimates are shown, they only reflect current high poverty and non-persistent years in poverty. So to view this poverty data, users can zoom in and click on a county or census tract. So let's try it. So here we are again, and we can see the different legends. So high poverty area is the darker gold, while possible high poverty area is like the beige. But if we get closer or just click in that area, it kind of gives us Juan Diaz, the municipal for Juan Diaz, and we can see the poverty level. So that's 45.1 in the past 12 months is below poverty, upper bound confidence interval 48.1, lower bound of confidence interval 42.1. And I'm pretty sure if we can zoom to, and then it shows us the area. Let me zoom out a bit. but you can just click on any area and then it'll give you the census tract and give you information regarding that census tract on poverty. All right. Got one more data tool. So here, finally, you are looking at a national map of census tracts shaded by predicted male non-response rate, otherwise known as the LRS or low response score. Again, though we do not have calculations for Puerto Rico, you can still click on the map and look at stats for certain census tracts. So let's just go live to see how this works out too. So if you're just looking at this map, you can see the darker areas here. So the darker areas, if I click on this, this is where the legend is. So you can see predicted male non-response rate. The darker areas says that that's more of a low response score. So that's up in Nevada, maybe around Utah. Maybe it's like in the mountains, so people are less likely to fill out their census surveys. But again, if I click on Puerto Rico, it'll just give me data from the 2013, 2017, and you can see all the different census tracts, what the total population is, what the median income is, which is, you know, good information, median age, population under 5, and high school graduate or not, and so on. But it just doesn't have whether they're good at filling out the, but it does have a lot of information like the broadband internet, computing device. It just doesn't have whether uh, it's a low response score or not. So to me, that would say that it's not. So you guys, you know, Puerto Rico is actually responding to the surveys and so forth. All right, well, here is in conclusion, and wow, that was 45 minutes. So here are some resources for you, and this concludes my presentation. So at this point, I'm ready for any questions that you might have, and I think Sam's gonna open up the line, so he's gonna ask that you raise your hand, and then we'll unmute you to ask a question. Sam?
Yes, Lillian, thank you very much.
Okay.
Very
Oh my goodness,
informative.
I
Thank
thought
you.
I lost
Nope,
connection.
I was here. I mean, we're all here. It's a very,
Oh, good.
very informative presentation. Thank you. What I would like to ask is for people to that would like to ask a question to use the raise hand feature that's on your WebEx portal. You should see a little hand that looks like it's being raised on your portal so that you can ask a question, and then I'll be able to call on you to unmute your phones so that you can ask your question or unmute your microphone. So anybody that would like to, please go ahead and raise your hand and I will unmute you so that you can speak your question. Okay, we have a question from, I believe it's Salona. Salona, I've asked for you to unmute your microphone and you can speak your question.
Great, thank you. Hi, my name is Salona Bonvald, and I work with Faucet, which is the Foundation for Open Source. I was wondering, one, if you're going to be posting those slides anywhere, so that way I could actually click through on some of those links. And two, if there is, I was looking for something like you had mentioned that was going to be happening on November 5th in regards to diving deeper into the data aspects of it and using some of those tools. Could you post a link to that as well? Because I think one of the hardest things I have is navigating. Y'all have so much there that it's really hard to find things sometimes unless it comes into my inbox. So I'd appreciate that too.
Let me walk through that and see if I can show you, and then I will go ahead and copy the link in the chat.
Thanks.
So Census Academy or census.gov/academy, there it all, if you just put academy, it'll all come up. But under webinars and then upcoming webinars, and then, so we're having a whole series of different webinars that's featuring Puerto Rico data. It's not there. You're right. I'm so sorry. Oh, wait. 3/6. You're right. November. Oh, here it is. November. Did I say November 6th? Or anyway,
Yes.
here it is. Here it is. And then I'll click on that.
That's wacky because I thought I was just there looking at all of that. So now I'm confused.
Oh,
Okay.
and I'll put it in the chat.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Out of a lot of this, I was also wondering, how are you doing like a feedback loop with people for a lot of these presentations? Because I noticed that y'all are getting more and more focused on the user-centered design and things of that nature. And I applaud y'all for doing that. But I don't want to sit there and see where is a place for, I see help improve the site, but that's kind of a little bit general. But more like on these different things, like how it would be maybe easier to navigate or things of that nature. Do you have a feedback path for any of that?
Mostly if you go to the, the individual data tool, there is an area for feedback. So you can send a question or, how you would like to see it improve. And again, it's really more for the bigger tools like the Census Business Builder.
Mm-hmm.
They're always asking for feedback. Oh, wrong one, so sorry. And then at the end of this, webinar, Sam will be sending out something for people to send their feedback. So that'll get to people as well.
Awesome.
In addition to the link that you had just sent out in the chat, I also followed up with a link directly to the Puerto Rico webinar series. That's the latest link that you'll find in the chat, in addition to all the other links that you used throughout today's presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Salona, for your question. If anyone else would like to ask a question, please go ahead and use the raise hand feature and we'll unmute you.
And to close out that last question, here's an area for provide feedback. So if you look at any of our data tools, they will always ask you for feedback.
If anyone else would like to ask a question, please go ahead and use the raise hand feature. And we have a question coming in from Catherine. Catherine, you may unmute your microphone and ask your question.
Hear me?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am, we can.
Okay. So my one question is whether you are trying to do these webinar series in Spanish, or if there's a group of people who are trying to do it in Spanish for Puerto Ricans that may not speak English.
Yes.
And
yes.
also, within this webinar series in English, do you have people who actively work in Puerto Rico and who are kind of experts in this limited landscape of data that we have in the island, so they
Yes.
can give a little bit more nuance, offer more nuance during these presentations?
Okay, so yes to both of your questions. We do have a team that will probably be transitioning this from English to Spanish, and we have a team. So if you send me an email, I will put you in touch with our crew that's in Puerto Rico.
Arlene, if there is another question that would like to be asked, go ahead and raise hand feature and we will call to unmute you. Arlene, I don't see any additional hands going up currently.
Okay.
Just a little bit.
Great.
Encouraging people to raise their hands so that they may ask a question. And we have another one, I believe, from Catherine. Yes. Catherine, you may go ahead and speak your question.
So I don't use quantitative or census data too often. And I was wondering if you could point me out to how how informal housing on the island appears in the census, or where we can look for that, because I know you presented the example of the mobile. We have so much mobile homes, as much as we do like maybe more informal housing situations.
Right. So have you used our data.census.gov data tool? I'm looking to see if here it is. Okay, they already had it. Oh no, October 30th. So on October 30th, they're going to be doing the data.census.gov, and that actually shows you all of the, the basic things like regarding the median, regarding race, ethnicity, educational attainment, different industries that people might work in. So data.census.gov is the main tool to find out all that information, because all of our data sets are put into this one area. So I don't want to really go into it because I'm not very good at it, I'm not good at it at all. I'm just going to say.
Okay.
It's not but this is it, data.census.gov, and you can type in,
Yeah, I have used this.
Oh, good.
Yes. Yeah,
So,
I
yeah,
have used it. I just didn't exactly know how the typology of the housing was kind of different from the States and Puerto Rico and.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
that data that I showed you was from the American Community Survey, so it's not going to be based on like what the decennial came out with. It's based on the 1 to 5 year estimates.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome, Catherine.
Have another question from Sonia. Sonia, I have allowed you to unmute your phone. You may go ahead and unmute and ask your question. Sonia, if you're speaking, we cannot hear you. Oh. I think she might be having some audio issues. So if she tries to work those out, we'll come back to her. But if anybody else would like to ask a question, go ahead and raise your hand. Sonia.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am, we can.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Is it possible to go back and see the community resilience estimate map? This has been the only map that I can not find on the website. I would really appreciate it.
Sure. All right. This actually has a special link to it. Let me send you the link. Will that be helpful? I mean, if I just put it in the chat?
Yes, Elaine, although it has been posted earlier during the course of your
Uh-huh.
presentation, I think it would be
Oh.
useful again.
Okay. Sonia, did you want me to do something more other than just the link?
No, that will be it. Thank you.
Okay.
Awesome.
You're welcome.
Yeah, if there's any other questions, go ahead and use the raise hand feature, and we'll be able to have you unmuted to ask your question. Arlene, it looks like the questions that were going to be asked during the presentation today have been asked. I don't see any other raised hands,
Okay,
so I'll pass it
super.
back to you.
All right. Well, thank you, Sam. So I just want to say thank you to everyone for attending today. Hope you found this helpful, and definitely check out all of the other webinars that are in this series for more information. So thank you so much for spending your afternoon with me.
Today's presentation, you may disconnect at this time. Thank you.